United States of Europe. This week's guest, Kirsten Hill, otherwise known as the Change Agent, presented as always by your suave and charming host, me, Greg Shapiro. Hi, it's me, Greg Shapiro, the American Netherlander, and this week our guest is Kirsten Hill, but well, we are, as always, trying to make the European Union a little less boring by making fun of them just like anybody else. As a reminder, just here we go. Thanks for watching, first of all. If you are watching this online, then make sure you subscribe, or if you're not watching online, subscribe to Broadcast Amsterdam, the YouTube channel, my Greg Shapiro YouTube channel, and that will help the support even more. Thanks. This week, our guest is Kirsten Hill, the Change Agent, or from the website's changeagent.nl. Yeah,
that's right.
And I'm introducing you as activist, speaker, author, and we first met a while ago. But where was that?
That's a very good question.
Right? Yeah. I remember it as with Baratunde Thurston.
No, we knew before then.
Yeah, it must have been before that.
It must have been something, maybe John Adams Institute?
Yeah.
Could be.
If you hang around in Amsterdam long enough at Pakhuis de Zwijger or John Adams Institute with all the American authors coming over, TEDx is coming up again.
We go way back.
We go way back.
Way back.
Right. Well, we're going to talk about your book and your latest projects in just a minute, but right now let's check in with the headlines. This past week, of course, is pretty exciting. As of the 1st of November, the new EU Commission took office. Yay! Look how they celebrated. Yes, the new EU Commission was welcomed by violent protests. They were mostly over the Belgian government specifically, but they clearly sent a message about austerity measures and budget cuts in Brussels. Brussels responded, thanks, we'll pass on the message to where the budget austerity is actually coming from. A study of exit polls in the U.S. midterm elections reveals an interesting result. Americans complained that they feel less safe, although they're actually more safe. They complained that they have no jobs, even though there are way more jobs than in Europe, and that the economy is bad, though the economy is actually pretty good. By that logic, the Democrats won, even though it was actually the Republicans. Meanwhile, the new EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker sent Europe's first envoy to Africa to ensure Ebola containment. Greek Commissioner for Migration Dimitris Avramopoulos sending a clear message to the rest of Europe. If you mess up your economy, you're the one who gets to clean up the Ebola. Dutch bank ING announced they are repaying their government bailout loan in full ahead of schedule. This was made possible by not transferring people's money from one bank account to another on time, giving shitty customer service, and having one department not knowing what the other is doing, said Greg Shapiro, ING customer. UK Prime Minister David Cameron got a verbal smackdown from Germany's Angela Merkel that any attempt to limit European freedom of migration would be met with serious consequences. Newly appointed EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker interjected, hey, Angela, that's my job. And he got smacked down as well. And now it's time for good news, bad news. This week in the form of bad news, worst news. Specifically, who's got it worse, Barack Obama or Jean-Claude Juncker? What? How can you compare? Well, Obama, I know, he just lost the midterms to the Republicans, while Jean-Claude Juncker is the squeaky clean new leader of Europe. But look at the welcome that Juncker received. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalism leaked thousands of damning documents showing how Juncker's Luxembourg helped dozens of multinationals avoid paying their taxes, leading to one big question. Where were these documents 3 months ago when we were choosing the EU Commission president? Now we're stuck with the guy. Anyway, here we go. Meanwhile, no, I got totally lost. Okay, yes, good. Meanwhile, Republicans repudiated Obama's foreign policy. One triumphant Republican declared, "I'm tired of the Obama doctrine of don't do stupid stuff." The alternative clearly being doing stupid stuff. So Republicans will now require the U.S. military to deny global warming, scientists to deny evolution, and every unborn American fetus to carry a gun. So maybe Obama's got it worse. Then again, here in the EU, we've got Hungary, Viktor Orban trying to ban the internet. We've got commercial flights getting shot down by pro-Russians. And look at who is in the new Euro Parliament. The man who wants to dissolve the Euro Parliament. The man who wants to build a wall around Switzerland as a joke. And the guy who seriously said Parliament should be turned into a brothel. Yet, the Euro Parliament did pass Juncker's whole commission, while Republicans in Congress are now primed to strike down everything Obama has tried to build up. So who has it worse? Well, Juncker won, Obama lost, but Juncker doesn't know who he can trust, while Obama knows there's no one he can trust. And finally, he can stop pretending to cooperate with those knuckle draggers and finally do whatever he wants. But now, back to the EU Commission we just saw. I'm curious, let's take a look at these 28 new faces. 28? So many? Yes, that's why there's only one way to do this. I call it one word who's who. I present now one word reactions to the new 28 commissioners. This week, the first 14, starting with EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker. Hypocrite! Yes, he's enforcing austerity for the people, but he sure likes allowing companies to pay no taxes. Next, EU's first vice president and right-hand man, Frans Timmermans. Awesome! He made his name by making a big impassioned speech at the United Nations. This man has real leadership potential. Foreign policy, Federica Mogherini. Yikes! Only 6 months on the job as foreign minister of Italy, and now she's in charge of all of Europe. Talk about being thrown through the lions. And next, the Euro and social dialogue, Valdis Dombrovskis. Boring. Budget and human resources, Georgieva. Boring. Migration and home affairs, Dimitri Avramopoulos. Ebola. And next, oh yes, economic and financial affairs. That's Pierre Moscovici. French. The man in charge of balanced budgets hasn't balanced a budget in France for 35 years. But next up, jobs, growth, investment, and competitiveness. Jyrki Katainen. One word for him, oxymoron. Finland, as Germany, loves austerity. Who better for growth and investment than the country who hates growth and investment? Financial services, Jonathan Hill, corrupt. Environmental, maritime affairs, and fisheries, Carmen Novello, corrupt. Climate, action, and energy, Miguel Arias Cañete, corrupt and right-wing woman hater. But there are some women on the commission. Regional policy, Corina Cretu. It's a boring job. Employment, social affairs, skills, and labor mobility, Marianne Thyssen. That's a catch-all job. Internal market, industry, entrepreneurship, SMEs, and space, Elżbieta Bienkowska. That's another catch-all job. What is going on with these women? Why do they get all the boring jobs? And that brings us to our guest for this week. Kirsten van den Hul is founder of thechangeagent.nl. She's the author of the book he-volution, and she's a guest lecturer at the University of Amsterdam, helping out with, and a separate project, helping the Dutch government with the Power on Tour, or Kracht on Tour outreach program to empower women. Hi.
Hi, Greg.
That was a lot of talking. Now you can talk some. Where would we like to start first? You know, I was talking about a lot of things just there.
Well, the commission.
Yes.
I mean, the question you asked, why do women get the boring jobs?
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting question.
Yeah, they were trying to talk about gender equality on the EU Commission.
Yeah, they have been trying to for a while now.
And yet I think that in terms of numbers, it's like 9 in total out of 28.
Yeah.
So.
Which is actually a pretty fair reflection of the state of affairs in Europe as a whole. whole.
Interesting, yeah.
Because, well, that's pretty much what we have in Holland. That's pretty much what most countries have. Never, I mean, above 30%, that's considered a shock.
Really? Yeah. Pushing the envelope. Well, let's just quickly get to know you. I'm going to do this week's 6 in 60. These are 6 questions in just 60 seconds. The first answer you think of is the right answer, and we'll move on. Right, 6 in 60, start the clock. Kirsten, do you have any pets?
No.
No. Have you ever owned any pets?
Yes.
Oh, what'd you have?
I've owned a cat called Ernie, after Ernie and Bert.
Okay.
But then I moved to Tunisia, and I didn't want to have her go through the whole, quarantine. So she moved to the countryside. She's now at my mom's, where she's enjoying a well-deserved country-style life.
Where
catching mice and birds and all that.
Is that where you grew up?
Yes.
Where'd you grow up?
In a very small village called Batman, believe it or not.
Batman?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yes, that's my hometown, and my mom's still there.
Okay.
Yes.
That's amazing. Okay, great.
It's in Overijssel, not far from Deventer.
Right. Yeah. Okay. It's called Bathmen in English? Okay.
Yes.
I know the place. Anyway. Well, great. Who inspired you when you were growing up?
Well, first of all, my mom.
Yeah.
Second of all, Pippi Longstocking.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she could do it all.
That was Astrid Lindgren,
yes.
the writer? Okay.
Yes.
And, where were you when the Berlin Wall fell?
I was in front of the TV at home watching it because I was fascinated. I knew that this was huge.
Yeah, even I was studying at the time, but even I knew that was, I better pay attention to current events. What book are you reading right now?
I am actually not reading right now.
Oh, just writing?
I'm just writing.
Okay. Where's your happy place?
My happy place?
Yeah.
Well, that's underneath a palm tree on a white beach.
Just anywhere?
Anywhere.
Okay. And what is the stupidest fashion detail of any era?
The stupidest fashion detail of any era? I would say corsets.
Corsets.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's perfect. Well, let's get back to the issues at hand. What were we talking about? I mean, gender equality.
Still a long way to go.
Yeah. And when we talk about gender equality, I mean, I've been doing some research and finding out that people have different ideas of what exactly that means. Should there be like quotas? Should there be just more tools to, help women? And the biological factor seems to come up fairly quickly every time. Is that your experience as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people actually believe that we're there, actually. So the topic of gender equality, feminism, is not a very popular one.
Right.
And, or at least it wasn't until recently, because there's an interesting trend that I noticed. I don't know if you've seen Emma Watson's speech at the United Nations.
Yes, he for she.
Yes, he for she.
Emma Watson from Harry Potter movies, but from the she was standing there at the United Nations, and voice was shaky.
Shaky.
If you've seen the, we'll try to put up the link. But
it went completely viral.
She did.
If I asked my students, and they all loved it, and there were some who said, after watching this, I call myself a feminist. So that's really cool.
And not then, just that was the special part for me, was that it was not just for women.
Exactly. And I think that's the way forward. That really is the way forward.
I'd like to talk about your students as well coming up and some of the teaching and outreach you're doing. But as I mentioned, we have some video to look at. We just recently went to the I Am Not a Tourist fair from Expatica. Antoine, this is for you. Let's take a look at what people had to say about gender equality. Yeah, we were asking about gender equality in the European Commission. Do you have any opinions on that?
Well, my sister was studying that for a while, and she said in an internship, and she said nothing really holds up with the politicians themselves. Yeah, I mean, they have should never go to an event without another friend there because she'd get harassed so often.
Sexual harassment is an issue
it's a problem overall, right? So I work in universities, and there's also a problem with gender imbalance the higher up the university tree you get. So in academia, At the student level, it's a 50-50 split between guys and girls.
Yeah.
Then the higher you get into PhDs, and then as you get into like lectureships and then professorships, you see the number of women dropping off there as well.
What do you think about gender equality in the European Commission?
I think that it needs to change a bit. I don't think there's enough support for women, and we were talking about them making choices. I don't think it's as much about making choices to have children, but when you've got school pickups and school finishes at 12 o'clock 2 days a week, it's a little difficult. You need a bit more support in that area.
So is there more support coming, from, like, I don't know, a European level, or maybe from different countries?
I would have to do some research. I've been a bit busy picking up the kids from daycare and swimming lessons, and I don't get
Well, guys would like to say, it's because women have got different priorities in life. They want to have children and stuff like that. But, so the guys think, well, actually, it's not that they're being shut out, it's they're making a life decision about what they want.
For me personally, I would rather see that people want to hire me for the talents that I have.
And not for a quota.
Yeah, not for a quota. Just do it in a natural way. And I don't like the imposing thing of it works like cucumbers or bananas. Like, the banana should be curved, the cucumber should be straight, and things like that. And I don't like quota like that. So
no quotas.
No quotas.
No quotas, no. Quotas are, they don't work. But if you're talking about ministers, there are enough good women out there if you want to get them. We should clone Neelie Kroes. She's stepping down. But let's just put Neelie in every position. I mean, they were scared of her. She achieved something.
Neelie Kroes.
In every job.
Right?
Neelie in every job, yeah.
Now, people don't know Neelie Kroes. Fine, let's talk about her.
Yeah, that's an interesting case, actually, because talking about quotas, she was against.
Right.
She was against, totally in line with her party's official line. Like, she was against quotas.
Right.
Then, Barroso called then Dutch Prime Minister Balkenende and said, I need a girl. I need a woman. And that is how Neelie became a European Commissioner.
Okay.
And had it not been for quotas, she actually now also openly she admits that she would not have been European Commissioner.
Interesting.
So she is one of the women that used to be against quotas and now says, well, it's still a very shitty thing, but we need it.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
I agree.
That's where we were coming down to. How do you fall in this debate?
Yeah.
Just so we know, Neelie Kroes is the one, I would say, her main claim to fame is getting rid of data roaming, or telephone roaming. The story of someone going on holiday to Spain, you come back and there's a telephone bill for 1,000 euros or whatever. Your phone was doing data roaming when you went on holiday. But that doesn't happen anymore because of Neelie Kroes, the Dutch woman who was on the European Commission.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't have had her job. So maybe quotas, at least at the European level, European Commission level, are important.
Yeah, because there's still a selection bias.
Yeah.
And as long as our power structures are still male, pale, and Yale, as one of Hillary Clinton's assistants once called it.
Okay.
I love that quote.
Male, pale,
Yale.
and Yale.
Yes, because let's be real about this. This is about diversity.
Yeah.
This is not just about gender. This is about, how many openly gay people do we have? How many openly, how many Muslims do we have in the European Commission?
Yeah,
how many young people? How many handicapped people? This is about, seeing the added value of difference.
Or just, a commission that reflects society in
simple
general.
As that. I mean, as long as we believe that representative democracy is the way to go, then I would like to be represented.
There was also a talk of support, that idea of, maybe not just, there's equal pay, there's equality quotas as well, but support as well for the choices that anyone might make, not just maternal leave, but paternal leave, parental leave.
Let's call it parental leave.
Yeah.
I mean, Holland, of course, is one of the worst examples in Europe.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Because, I mean, everyone thinks that, oh, it's pretty advanced here, you know, social liberal, but...
Yeah, not that advanced.
No.
Last week, actually, the Global Gender Gap Report came out.
Right.
It's an annual report issued by the World Economic Forum. And the Netherlands scored 14 after countries like Belgium, but also Rwanda, Nicaragua, and the Philippines.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
No, Holland only has 2 days parental leave, and Minister Ascher, Social Affairs, is trying to change that, but it's not that easy.
Right.
There are, of course, the Scandinavian countries that have complete balance between male and female parental leave.
Yeah, you get paid.
You get paid.
And everything.
Yeah. But even a country like France has 2 weeks.
And is that the kind of thing that you were working on? I mean, well, let's start with your... you got started with the change agent.
Yes.
Without change, no butterflies.
That's my motto, yeah.
And but how did that get started?
Well, I've always been fascinated by change and transition.
Yeah.
Ever since I studied Sovietology, so I studied, for example, the fall of communism. And particularly, I'm interested in what change means to women.
Yeah.
And I believe that the situation of women in a particular country, the status of gender equality in a particular country, is like a thermometer of progress in a particular country.
True.
And that is why I chose gender as one of my main topics.
Not just progress, but economic well-being as well. There was just a study about how in any workplace, if they're all women, not so productive. Or if it's all men, not so productive. It's a nice, healthy mix.
It's a nice, healthy mix.
It's just a productive... Why can't this become an economic issue?
Yeah, totally. But you were talking about the support. Well, I think that is, quota is one thing, but parental leave and other measures, policy measures that would actually enable parents to both commit to work and child upbringing and personal development.
Yeah. I mean,
that would be a benefit to us all.
Is that maybe... Is anyone expecting this to come from a European top-down level?
No, I don't think so.
Is it going to be, nationwide? There's still great disparity, as you said.
There is.
You'd think that the Netherlands would be higher, but they score pretty low. Grassroots from the bottom up?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I don't think European top-down measures are very likely to succeed in this domain, particularly because it's such a sensitive issue.
Yeah.
And in Holland, for example, people tend to really fight for their right to choose, as they call it.
Yeah.
So that's the whole part-time trap that I like to call it. It's a dilemma that a lot of women are facing. Do I keep working full-time or do I scale down 3 days?
Yeah, I mean, you could work full-time just to make enough money to pay the daycare.
Yeah, and that I think is a bit... it's an unfair discussion because why does a woman's salary have to pay the childcare?
Right.
Why can't you just...
and that's another big issue of support that we were talking about. But personal choices as well. We'll get to your book in just a moment, but Kracht on Tour.
Yes.
Power on Tour. That's tomorrow you're going.
Wednesday, yes, indeed. We're going to Rotterdam this time. Kracht on Tour is a project that I do together with Petra Stienen and Jet Bussemaker, the Minister of Gender Equality, among other things.
Yeah, in the Netherlands. So, I mean, you were talking about Lodewijk Asscher, the minister in the Dutch government who's trying to change the status of the Netherlands. And also Jet Bussemaker, who is another minister, and you're working directly with her. That's great.
Yes, we're working with her because last year she actually started quite a debate when she said that Dutch women need to work more. Now, that is really quite a taboo issue here because, like I said, it's all about freedom of choice. But she said a lot of women are at risk of, falling into below poverty line because they are economically dependent on their partners.
Right.
And only half of Dutch women are economically independent.
Yeah.
And that is not even a very big salary. That's 900 euros a month.
Huh.
Only half of Dutch women make more than that.
Wow.
And if you realize that 1 out of 3 marriages is likely to end in divorce, that means that there's actually quite a lot of women who are now at risk of becoming poor, of not being able to feed their children.
What are the alimony laws like here? Sorry to... I don't know.
I would like to not just talk about alimony, but I think it's a matter of also, first and foremost, personal development.
Yeah.
And I was raised by a single mom, and she went back to school after the divorce, and she built a whole new career while I was growing up, being a single parent, and she made it work, and I was always very proud of her. And
may I ask?
she was first a teacher, and she then in adult education, and then she went on to become a vice principal of that school.
Wow. Yeah. So an inspiration, like you said.
Totally.
What about your book? What was the inspiration for your book, he-volution?
He-volution was, it started when I was UN Women's Representative in 2011, and I got to address the General Assembly of the United Nations.
Wow.
Yay, that was a big dream.
What were you representing?
I was representing Dutch women. Holland is actually one of the very few countries, I was told, the last country that still has an independent women's representative to join the delegation to the United Nations General Assembly and the Commission on the Status of Women. Yeah. Most other countries would send a diplomat, but the Netherlands actually selects an independent representative, and that was me in 2011. Right. And that was also the year that the UN General Assembly, believe it or not, for the first time was opened by a woman. Oh, and that was Dilma Rousseff
from Brazil.
Okay. And she said, historical word, she said, this will be the century of woman. And there was a whole wave of breath going through that whole, especially like delegates from Saudi Arabia must have been scared to death. What does that mean? What does that mean for us?
Great. Here's what happened. We let a woman in to open the UN General Assembly one time, and what happens?
And I was triggered by that statement, and I had interviewed lots of women preparing for my speech, and I decided I had so much input, I wanted to write a book. So my book is called he-volution, The Century of Woman, but there's brackets around the S because I believe that it's maybe more a he-volution than a she-volution. So in the end, it's going to be a we-volution. It's about balance.
Yeah. That's great. If you want to know more about the book, here's the book, he-volution, and Kracht on Tour. You can follow anywhere we can find out more.
Krachtontour.nl.
And the change agent.nl. That's brilliant. Well, we'll continue this conversation over coffee, but that's all the time we have for On the Air. So thanks for watching. Again, subscribe to Broadcast Amsterdam on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel, Greg Shapiro, on YouTube. I'd love it. And like me on Facebook. That's great. It's Greg Shapiro, comedian. Thanks to Kirsten Vandenhol, and we'll see you next week.